Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel and blind reviews. So as you can see, I'm going to be reviewing The Maid by Nita Prose. This was a book club selection for Envision's College Success Program's book club, and yeah, that's it. That's all. This is all I'm gonna say about it because I don't know how. I'm just not sure what else I can say about it. The title, I think, now while I'm reviewing it and everything, the title says everything about my feelings for this book. It trust me, it says everything. I don't know. There's nothing else I can say. But before we jump into the video, I want to ask that you consider subscribing if you enjoy my content and turning on notifications. That way you're aware when I release videos, which is usually 3 to 4 times a week. Also, I'd like to ask that you check out my writing if you are interested in that. You can check out my blog, which is linked in the description, or you can pre-order the first volume of the Child of Death series and my debut book, Daughter of Death. Daughter of Death follows Vivian, who, after 8 years of not being discovered by the mortal realm, is finally discovered by them. She's a half deity, the daughter of a ruler of the dead and a mortal woman. Now that she's discovered, she and her unusual family now have to adjust to this new change. So if you are interested in that premise at all, you can find my book in the links that I will put in the description. The retailers are Apple, Kobo, and Barnes & Noble, as well as Smashwords, which is also my distributor at the same time. Currently, it's not on Amazon because Smashwords does not have access to that. However, it will hopefully have access soon because it was acquired by Drafted Digital, so it should have access to them soon. Also, if you want to read my book early, I am currently running a pre-sale on Smashwords, which will last until the release date, December 26, 2023. So you can read it early there. If you participate in the pre-sale, if you have the option and the time, I ask that you please leave a review of my book. Reviews are very helpful to authors. Thank you so much for considering. You can find the book in all these retailers for 99 cents. So thank you so much for considering subscribing and considering buying my book. And with that, I will let you get to the video. All right. Let's talk about the Goodreads award for best mystery. And as you can see from the title, I'm very disappointed by this book, and I'm gonna talk about why. Because this book made me sad and it made me feel cheated. I was cheated by this book. But let's talk about why. I don't have much to say about this. Everything will be said after the description. Molly Gray is not like everyone else. She struggles with social skills and misreads the intentions of others. Her Gran used to interpret the world for her, codifying it into simple rules that Molly could live by. Since Gran died a few months ago, 25-year-old Molly has been navigating life's complexities all by herself. No matter, she throws herself with gusto into her work as a hotel maid. Her unique character, along with her obsessive love of cleaning and proper etiquette, make her an ideal fit for the job. She delights in donning her crisp uniform each morning, stocking her cart with miniature soaps and bottles, and returning guest rooms at the Regency Grand Hotel to a state of perfection. But Molly's orderly life is upended the day she enters the suite of the infamous and wealthy Charles Black, only to find it in a state of disarray and Mr. Black himself dead in his bed. Before she knows what's happening, Molly's unusual demeanor has the police targeting her as their lead suspect. She quickly finds herself caught in a web of deception, one she has no idea how to untangle. Fortunately for Molly, friends she never knew she had unite with her in a search for clues to what really happened to Mr. Black. But will they be able to find the real killer before it's too late? A clue like uh, locked room mystery and a heartwarming journey of the spirit. The Maid explores what it means to be the same as everyone else and yet entirely different, and reveals that all mysteries can be solved through connection to the human heart. So, okay, let's start with like literally the only good part of this book, which is the prose. I think the prose is good. It's easy to read. It's pretty accessible. And for very also for very like plot driven readers, this does follow a plot to the T, which I think harms the book in areas, but we're gonna talk about that later. I am so upset just that I'm reviewing this book. I'm upset that I'm reviewing this book. But okay. I do want to say this was the last selection of 2022 for my my book club, as my book club with Envision's College Success Program. I enjoy the I enjoy the book club. I did not like this book. I do want to say that in the beginning I actually had rated this book 3 stars, but eventually me and someone else in the club decided we're going to rate this book 2 stars. And we decided to change the rating. So the pacing in this book is way too fast for my liking. It's honestly, it just feels like it's not a pacing I fully enjoy. I mean, I guess the good part about this book is that it does keep you reading. It is kind of like a page turning pace, but it's not, I don't know, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy this pacing just because things happen too fast. There is very little time for character development. In a 304-page book, you should have enough time for that. At least some development. But the problem is there isn't that kind of development. The themes, if there are themes of friendship and love and all that stuff in this book, but they're not explored in the best way. So I guess this is where we're going to dive into my problems, because I got problems. So this book follows a formula that I actually really enjoy, and that it's not usually targeted for adults in what I have seen. Now, this formula is, I think I titled it to like I titled it to something along the lines of like friendship equals solve everything no matter how complicated, or something like that. I really can't remember how I titled this, but it is a formula that's very popular in certain anime, especially because I do know I see it a lot in I see it a lot in I see it a lot. I see it a lot mainly in anime. It is a formula that kind of works, and a very good example of where it was used would be like Yu-Gi-Oh. For example, you can see it in this is the kind of formula you can see in anime like Yu-Gi-Oh. To a point, you can even see it in Fruits Basket, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about that too because I think Fruits Basket kind of works. You can sort of see it in or on High School Host Club, but in like it's a more subverted trope, which is not surprising since or on High School Host Club also subverted the harem trope, and I think that's amazing. But or on High School Host Club is amazing, so if you want to see my thoughts, you can check my or on High School playlist because I started by reacting to some of the episodes. So it is a formula that it is good, and usually it is not targeted toward adults. It is usually targeted toward children, which is where my first problem comes. This is a good formula. It is a feel good formula. It gives you all the emotions, and by the end, you feel great because it gives you a bunch of things. This book disrespects that formula because what it does is the first thing it does is again, it's usually not targeted toward children, but I do think that even if things are not targeted toward adults, they can still work. I don't mind. But the problem is what the author does here is they take a formula that is usually targeted toward children and they make it palatable for adults. It's like taking children's cartoons and making them palatable. On the bright side, it did make me think about like this weird conversation of like cartoons and anime are only for kids and why adults don't for some reason um don't watch like cartoons or whatever because it's for children. It is a stupid argument, but it did make me think about it. This whole thing felt like the author took a really well-known formula and just made it more palatable for adults, and I did not like that because I do enjoy this formula. Again, I like Yu-Gi-Oh, and this is very apparent in Yu-Gi-Oh, and and in other anime I like friendship, solving everything, like people making it through the power of friendship is very well. It's a very good formula. You can even find it a little bit in Winx Club. Like it's a good formula. It's not a bad formula. It just has to be done right, and I think this book did tried, but it made it palatable for adults and added so much drama to the formula that it doesn't usually have. There are a couple of elements I think to this formula that this book used a bunch of elements but misused them, if that makes sense. So they took elements of the formula but misused them, and part of it was the story. um it had it like literally this book is written like a Saturday morning cartoon, and I can literally hear the voiceover narrator going, "You must not judge by what you see." Like I can hear that old style voiceover narrator telling me this. I I can see myself revisiting Sleepy Princess in the Demon Castle and hear the lady, or Comey can't communicate and hear the person with the voiceover. That is what I picture with this book. This is how it's written. And that's not a bad writing style, but if you're putting it for adults, it just feels weird. Even Comey can't communicate is not targeted toward adults, and it does a better job. It's just I just feel this formula was just disrespected by the book. So that is part of the reason that is an issue. One of the formula does have like the whole lesson thing, and it also has like friendship solves all, but it doesn't fully build all the friendship relationships that there could be. Very well. A lot of the relationships actually feel forced, with the exception of Molly's relationship with Mr. Preston and Charlotte. And Charlotte's is more even because she has a relationship with Mr. Preston, and it's like, here's your, you know, she kind of joins in as her lawyer, and then eventually starts to really like her and stuff. So it's a thing that can be done, and it is a thing that Yu-Gi-Oh actually mastered pretty well, where we have like when Serenity comes in as Joey's sister, they're like, yeah, you're Joey's sister, of course you're our friend. You know what I mean? It is something that can be done well, but I don't think it was done as well, because it's established that Yugi, Joey, Tristan, and Taya have known each other for like ever. So it makes sense that that when Serenity showed up, they would just automatically fold her into the group. Like, Serenity's folding into the group makes sense. Charlotte's folding into the group makes sense. It makes sense in the context of the book, but her quick friendship with Molly, not so much. I don't know. It works, but I feel like for that to have worked better, her relationship with Mr. Preston could have been better developed. Maybe they spent more time together or something. Also, her relationship with Juan Manuel would have been better developed too if they spent more time. I will say, for anybody who doesn't like predictability, this book is extremely predictable. It is a very predictable formula, and this book itself is very predictable, and that's okay for me. But if you do it right, it won't be that so bad. But this book would just hurt me. Other things I think where this formula definitely doesn't really work well in this book is I think I go very in depth in my blog post, by the way. I'll link it below if it's out, and if I can link it. But part of the things that is with the character, especially with Molly. So there, in the beginning, we see Molly as a really great character to root for, because she misunderstands kind of everything and misreads things. I literally was able to see that one of the people was just using her from the beginning. I was like, oh no, baby, you're being used. Like, I can tell. The thing with Molly is that she's very similar to Toru from Fruits Basket, except that she is naive to the point where it just feels like you have to suspend your disbelief too high to believe her naivete. With Toru, she's not necessarily super naive. She just can be naive at certain areas, but Toru just wants everybody to be happy, while Molly is given a bunch of struggles that immediately get resolved with barely little consequence, and it doesn't work. So Molly as a character is someone I originally started rooting for, but by the end, as it was approaching, I was like, no, I don't think I can root for you anymore. And by the epilogue, where a big quote-unquote twist is revealed, I was like, what was the point of rooting for Molly if this was going to be the ending? It's not. By the end, it feels pointless to root for her. Another reason that this book fails with the formula of this friendship thing is Molly's inconsistencies. So the whole point of this formula is that you have a character you have characters in general who are very consistent in their beliefs. And one of the things that she had was the idea of right and wrong, and she had been, but her right and wrong, like her morals of right and wrong, change constantly based on the situation, which I guess you can say it feels realistic to real life. But if you're using this formula, it would have been better for her wrong and her stuff for right and wrong stayed the same, but everything still worked out because she was good. I mean, there's even a scene where she ends up finding this guy's the victim's wedding ring and pawning it, and just hiding her money in her bra, and even hiding a gun for her friend Giselle in order to help her, which she thought she was doing a good thing for, but she did get charged for a bunch of stuff, And speaking of Giselle is literally the only character that had any potential, only for it to fail. I don't know. I do think the book was trying to allude to certain things. It just didn't do a good job of exploring them. So in my content warnings that I noticed for the blog post, for example, I'm gonna give it to you now, is is discussions of Latinx immigration or immigrants being treated badly. That's like the way I would put it. I was honestly not too sure how to phrase it. So there is a lot to be said um about the fact that it was, I think, trying to have these big conversations, and this formula isn't really for that. This formula is a feel good story and stuff like that. So some of the relationships are too forced, as I said, including Juan Manuel's and her relationship, especially the romantic one, definitely feels forced. A lot of the relationships with people with her relationship a lot of her relationships feel forced. And because of that, it is very hard to root for any of these relationships. In this formula, you have very strong friendships and you feel great rooting for them because these friendships are very strong and these characters are all very three-dimensional. Molly as a character is not three-dimensional. She just does things. Along with the other characters, she is a piece for them author to move around. And I do not like that. I don't like that because if you're gonna write good characters, think of them like people, you know? So I so no, I didn't enjoy this. I found I found this just I put in a bunch of things, I think, in my blog post. I remember I put a bunch of things in my blog post that could have made this a little bit better and used Toru as an example of how that could work. And part of the things that I said was to get rid of the romantic plot line, and to have Molly have more of a network in the beginning, even if that network is Mr. Preston. Like she already has him as kind of like a network, but have him have him be more a part of her life where they spend more time together and they and if they spend more time together, she doesn't feel like the fact that she asked him for help doesn't feel forced. Like let it be that he is more in her life, so the fact that she asks for help doesn't feel so forced. That way Charlotte's introduction can be the same but also feel more natural in that way. Another thing I said is to get rid of Molly's inconsistencies, make her consistent to what she thinks is right and wrong instead of changing it based on what happens. So I did mention a couple of things that I think could work because of each element of this formula. And if and also the one thing I'll say is that this book is classified as mystery, but I honestly classify it as fiction. It is not a mystery. It doesn't feel like a mystery. It by the time they're like resolving who did what, it's so easy to do. And then by the end of the epilogue, the quote unquote mystery aspect of the book basically just gets like tossed out a window because of, I don't know, plot. Like that's all I'm thinking. Plot, because of plot. Like I cannot think of another reason why you would throw away an idea for a good mystery. Everything is resolved quickly. Everything works too well for Molly, and it is not a mystery. And the most insulting part of it all is what I mentioned in the very beginning of this video. This book won Best Mystery in the Goodreads Choice Award. This only further proves, what's his name? Daniel Green's point. I think it was a couple of years ago that he made this video where he talked about the Goodreads Choice Awards, and he talked about the fact that this book is a I'm sorry, he talked about the fact that the Goodreads Choice Award is nothing more than a popularity contest. And he's definitely right, because it seems from what I heard that this book has a very, it has a very it looks like it was very hyped up, and people voted for it, and somehow it got qualified as mystery. It's not even a cozy mystery. It's not even a feel good book. This book made me upset because it was a formula I enjoyed and it messed it up for me. Again, I originally gave this book 3 stars, but I lowered it down to 2 stars. This book is the reason why this book, just if you're going to do something, do it correctly. So I had an issue. Okay, so I'm gonna just try to not even do it correctly. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. But if you're gonna use a formula, at least note the formula and make it fit correctly in the book as best as you can. Again, this feels like it was made palatable for adults. So this was an issue. Look at this. I'm gonna compare. I'm gonna make a comparison. The issue I had a bunch of issues with Iron Widow, but in the writing, one of the issues I had with Iron Widow is that, this was especially proven to me by the acknowledgments written by Jiren Jeijao. And basically, one of the issues I had with this book is that it read like a watered down adult book. And it was proven to me by Zhao's acknowledgments, where she talked about the fact that originally the first draft of this book was an adult book, and she said that according to her beta readers, according to her, it was more problematic than this one, or it was just or actually no, not even more problematic. She basically said it was very problematic, saying that this one is not, which it totally is, but this version. But you can tell, and she also was told by her agent that the original book, it cannot be marketed as YA. It was too dark to be marketed as YA. So, and you can definitely tell that it was adult when you read it, because it was like a watered down version. It was a watered down version of what the original book was probably like. You can tell because it feels like it was trying to discuss certain subjects, and it just didn't do it. Instead, it took whatever the plot was for the original adult book and made it so that it was comfortable for YA, and it feels really, you can tell it feels very watered. It feels very watered down. So it makes it hard to, it's one of those books. The issue I had with this book, I mentioned that this is a formula, from what I have seen, that I have usually not seen it targeted toward adults. This book has the opposite problem, where it was made palatable for adults. It feels like a middle grade book, but somehow made adult. And if you're going to use this formula for adults, I think it can work, but just make it adult. Maybe don't use the same certain things that would be more for kids, like the whole you judge someone by making assumptions kind of lesson. Maybe just imply it and just have like the apology, like I judged you for this and I made assumptions on you for this. You can totally imply it without making it without giving it a what am I saying? Without making the without going as far as without going as far as just as telling us that this is what it is, because that is why this isn't usually targeted for adults. It's targeted mainly toward children, or toward or just, it's not targeted toward adults. It's more targeted toward children or middle school. So you can definitely tell it's it just feels like it was a middle grade book that was trying to be adult, and it was made palatable for it. And one of the reasons one of the things I said, I think, when I wrote this blog post was, If you want to make it adult, that's fine. It can work, but make it adult. And part of the ways you can do that is just not by telling you like not by hitting you over the head with the obvious. So those are my thoughts. This book could have gone so much better, way better, and instead we got whatever the fuck this was. It was just bad. It was bad. We in the book club did not like this book. Let me know your thoughts on The Maid in the comment section. Will I read other books by this author? I don't know. I probably won't. And if I do, I'll do it for content. You know what? Yeah, I'll read more books for content. But I'm not sure yet. I don't know if I'll read anymore. It's disappointing to me. Okay, hello everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. So yeah, that is my thought on The Maid. I'm pretty sure the title in this long video kind of give you an idea what I think about this book. Could it have been better? Yes. Could I have given it more grace? Maybe, especially because, you know, something was brought up for me. I think I had later conversations about this book in another call, and what was brought up for me is that there's, it seems to be like the main character is a disabled character, and in a way, I think that's a good thing that there's a disabled character as a main character. Not even in a way. I actually just think it's a good thing, but I don't think it's enough to save the book for me because it just didn't feel. I don't know. It just didn't work out for me. So yeah, I don't know. This is just me. I didn't love it. I think there could have been better done. But hey, let me know in the comments your thoughts on The Maid, because I know I had plenty of them, as I have shared. So yeah, let me know what you think. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content. And also turn on notifications so you're aware when I release videos, which is usually 3 to 4 times a week. If you are interested in my writing, check out my blog, linked in the description, as well as my book. In my blog, I usually have creative nonfiction and poetry, as well as reviews every Sunday. But my book, you can pre-order it in the following retailers: Smashwords, Apple, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, and Barnes & Noble. You can find it there. My book is the first volume in the Child of Death series, Daughter of Death. It is a fantasy series. It's also my debut book, and it follows Vivian, who after 8 years of not being discovered, is discovered by the mortal realm. And she is a half deity, the daughter of a ruler of the dead and a mortal woman. And now her unusual family and her have to adjust to this new change. So that's kind of what we follow. So if you're interested in the premise, feel free to pre-order my book. Or if you want to read my book early, I am currently running a pre-sale on Smashwords, which it will be available until the release date of the book, December 26, 2023. So feel free to read it early. If you participate in the in the pre-sale, and you have the time and option to do so, please consider leaving a review. Reviews are very helpful to authors, so thank you so much for considering that. In all the retailers, you can find my book for 99 cents. Thank you so much for watching, considering subscribing to my channel, checking out my blog, and buying and reading my book. And I will see you next time. Until then, consume stories. Bye!